Hello, welcome to the extended edition of Skill Check, the gaming and well-being podcast video feed from YMCA Exeter. What this is, it's the two of us recording a podcast, and due to current world events, if we can put it that way, we are recording it over the internet, and yeah, we're also doing it live on. Oh, Zach, help me out here.
Yeah, so today marks an auspicious occasion, which marks the first time that we have. I'll close that window so that we don't hear that dinging going off. Good job it wasn't in the recording, guys. This is how it normally goes. Get all our kinks out of the way before we start recording. So we do a live recording of our podcast. So the idea is that this is the best way to record audio for a podcast while we're not together in the same place, and so we thought, why not share the experience with kind of everyone that we work with and everyone that's interested in seeing what goes on before and after a podcast gets recorded, and more of just a little bit about what goes on here at the YMCA, and obviously a bit more about our insights into gaming outside of the gaming topics that we talk about during the podcast recording. So today we're also live on YouTube and Twitch for the first time, as well as Facebook. So yeah, hello everyone out there.
Hello,
maybe from those places that may have found us. Do follow us on your preferred platform of choice. We do this every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, so you'll always find us hanging around here. Yeah, like Andy said, it's we just really enjoyed kind of talking about a passion of ours, and hopefully carving out a bit of space for anyone that wants to come along and chat with us and ask us questions. And yeah, we've had success so far, and we're opening it up to the rest of the world today for the first time. So be nice to us, be kind, and hopefully it'll go really well.
Please be kind. Yeah, so I had like other things, like other ideas of what to talk to you about before we actually cracked on with the, I guess, main event, and it's all
Gone from your memory.
all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. That was
Which is
really
fine, because I think Andy was trying to get to the article about the Microsoft Xbox controllers and their let's just say their issues. And to be fair, we've covered this a lot at the moment, because Nintendo has had some pretty big issues with their controllers. PlayStation has had some issues with their controllers, and now Xbox is having issues with their controllers.
It's like the set is now complete, right?
Yeah, slightly different issues, but I think the PlayStation and Nintendo stuff is more about drift, which is where the kind of the thumbsticks kind of drift in a direction when it's inactive, as in you're not touching the controller, but it's acting as if it's drifting in a direction, which makes controlling kind of platforming type games or first person shooter types games more interesting when your character's turning left and you want to go right.
Yeah, I actually had that on Super Mario World the other day. It's like, why did you do that?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like Mario. I was struggling enough as it was. He was little Mario. He was about to die, Mario. No more chances left, Mario.
yeah.
Bowser was
Practically
just about
starting
to
you
laugh
off.
at me, Mario.
Yeah,
And it's like he looked up at me, Zach, shrugged his shoulders, and just walked off the platform. I had no drift issues up until that point, or indeed afterwards, but it just randomly just went, you know what? You're terrible at this today.
yeah.
I'm just going to jump.
I'm just gonna jump straight off.
Let's try this again at some other time.
Yeah, exactly. And then Xbox, slightly different issue. They have less concerning because I imagine it is a software fix rather than a hardware problem. So they have a bit of unresponsiveness between when you press a button on people have been pressing a button on the controller, but they're not getting a response from the game or the Xbox that they're on. I imagine this is a software problem with like it not registering that what's happening. So I imagine it's a slightly easier fix than the fact that the Joy-Con drift and controller joystick drift, that's built into the actual controller itself. There is no way of fixing that remotely. Like it's a bigger problem.
Yeah, hopefully it's not going to. Let's face it, controller drift is almost a feature on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it is that bad. I think I had 3 sets of Joy Cons. Well, I had the Joy-Con, the full version of the Nintendo Switch, and all of them developed Joy-Con drift. I've got a Nintendo Switch Lite now, and guess what? It's perfect in every way. So I'm so glad I swapped over.
Every way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If that sounded like I was jealous just then for a whole split second,
It's because he
it's
was.
because I was.
Because he was.
And
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I think. Because I never really used it. I think it would have been less of an issue if I used it exclusively on the TV. So I had a Pro controller, so I did have a controller that wasn't a Joy-Con, and so I could have just primarily, but I used it as a handheld console, so it made sense for me to use the Joy-Cons, and that was where the issue that was where the rubber hit the road. I was like, oh man, it's a lot of money every time Joy-Con drift becomes like too much of a problem for the controllers. They're still 60 quid. And they're broken. Like before you buy them, it's only a matter of time. I thought that was a bit. I can't believe like they've not done more to address it or to try and fix it or to even just communicate what the problems are and the best ways to get around it or anything. Nintendo just haven't done anything to try and fix the problem.
I hadn't never actually thought of it in that sort of way. In that when you go and buy a new set of Joy Cons to fix controller drift, you're basically spending 60 quid on something that isn't going to flip and work in the first place, or at least eventually.
Yeah, definitely eventually. I think it took a varying. Although that's the thing, one set lasted a long time, about half a year, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's not too unreasonable at a cost. If you're using it all the time, that's not that bad. But then the other ones went within like a few months, and I was like, oh, that just leaves a bad taste in the mouth when it's like it's expensive to get new Joy-Cons all the time. So yeah, I just thought, you know what, I use handheld most of the time, so Switch Lite makes perfect sense for me as a gamer. I don't use it on the TV at all, so yes, okay.
Cool.
There are some you can't put it on the TV or whatever, but battery life is better. It does everything that the other Switch does. Joy-Con, it doesn't have Joy-Cons. It's inbuilt, like the controllers are inbuilt to it, so there's no chance of drifting. So, yeah, for me it made sense. But it's bad. Like the fact that every company is now having problems with controllers suggests maybe perhaps that the pandemic did have an effect on kind of like production of like the hardware that actually rushing it or trying to get it out in a pandemic when things were overlooked maybe perhaps is having an impact on the quality of product that people end up getting and receiving, which is a shame because they're not cheap. None of these things are cheap. So,
No.
It sucks.
I guess it kind of it's difficult, isn't it? Because it is because I was about to say that it speaks to the need to like research what it is you're buying before you buy it. But if you've brought a new piece of hardware that's just out the shops, like the new PlayStations, like new Xboxes,
Mm.
you're not going to have that space to kind of research it. I mean, the talk about the Microsoft controllers, that's from a news article from like 5 days ago.
Yeah, and I know that there's a fix, and ultimately, I play my Xbox more than anything else, and I haven't noticed a single problem. So like
Cool.
that's probably suggestive as that like it's not as big a widespread an issue as the other issues are, and I imagine that there'll be a fix in a few days and it'll be forgotten about because I imagine it's to do with the communication between the controller and the console. It's not picking it up, so I imagine they can do a patch. They can patch that in some way. Um, there's nothing like, but when the entry level is so high now for how much you spend on a console, plus the fact that the controller is one of the non-optional pieces of kit.
Mm.
You can't. There's no compromise. When you buy a console, it comes with a controller. Um,
Mm.
Whereas, because usually back in the day, it always used to be, oh, if I'm getting a new console, I can't really afford to get in games. So then, what's the point in getting the console? But nowadays, with the amount of free games that are out there, that's less of an issue now. So it does
Yeah.
come down to I'm spending a lot of money on the hardware. It needs to work. Like
Mm.
it's more expensive, and I would like it to at least do what
At
it's
least
supposed to.
work.
Yeah, yeah.
Shall we move on
Let's
and shall I hit the
the
magic
record
button?
button. That's a very scary prospect.
What? This bit's scary, dude. We're live like all over the
Yeah, but
place.
we've only got 2 viewers,
You
and
know
that
what?
might be us.
I'm gonna take that. It's not me. I'm not.
I'm not
I'm,
either. I'm not. So hi viewers
I've got
out there,
limited
however you're watching
real
us, thank
estate
you so
here.
much. Do comment whatever platform you're on. Do leave a comment on the video, especially if you've got any questions or any thoughts on anything that's happening in the gaming world. We'd love to. We'd record the show and then at the end we have a bit of a Q&A. So if you get them in now, then there's every chance we'll talk about it at the end of the show, and we'd love to engage with you. And I've just someone just left straight away as soon as I said
Oh,
welcome to the stream.
well, hello to that
One
one
person.
remaining. Please don't leave
Yeah,
us.
don't leave us alone. Don't leave me alone with Andy, please. No, it's totally fine. Feel free to drop in and drop
Mm.
out and leave questions or not. That's what we're here for. So ultimately, we'll be here even if no one else is, and we'll keep being here even if
We
forever
amuse
there's no
each
one
other. That's what
but us.
matters. I've so just had images of us who just been put in a cupboard somewhere, just been just
Two old men in a room, 60 years from now.
like just leave them to it at some point. You know, once the pandemic has calmed down and it's safe to do that sort of behavior and things like that.
Yeah.
I just had a disclaimer moment.
Yeah. Hopefully, in the future, we'll be doing this live recording from somewhere else, together in the same room, with the option of people being involved behind the scenes and pressing buttons and seeing how it is put together, and they can try out for themselves. And
Imagine if we had an audience one day.
a live audience would be pretty cool. I don't think we're that big. I don't think we'd attract anyone at the moment.
I
But there's dreams. Dreams like that.
think of one person who might come and watch and throw fruit or something like that.
Yeah. Or ask questions for the Q&A at the end. That's always nice.
Okay, can now think of one other person who might come and ask questions for Q and
Yeah.
and a at the end,
Yeah.
and it would just be really awkward, terrible questions.
Really awkward.
I'm not naming any names at all whatsoever at this point because I would just get in trouble. I should. Anyway, let's move on. We are tangenting, and I am about to get myself into trouble. So, right, you ready?
Always.
It sounds very action packed. Hello, welcome to Skill Check, the gaming and wellbeing podcast from YMCA Exeter. My name is Andy, and here with me online, I've got Zach, our co-host. Hello.
Hi, Andy. It's good to be back this week.
Fantastic. How are things? You right?
Yeah, going well. So after my many weeks of procrastinating over what game I should play, I finally settled on a game. I'm
Ooh.
currently trying again for like the fourth time to do a complete playthrough of Divinity Original Sin, which is one of so if you've heard of that Baldur's Gate is getting Baldur's Gate 3 is
Yeah.
coming out, and Larian Studios are the studios behind that. They started off on Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2. Really good top-down isometric party management RPG games as in the kind of Dungeons and Dragons kind of feel to it. Um, Always really enjoyed games like that, but never managed to finish the first one. Finished the second one, really loved it. The first one's a bit more dated, so it's a bit you got to really want to kind of pursue the story. But this time I'm going to do it. I'm gonna complete a playthrough of it. Managed to, my mind was all over with like, what should I do? What game should I play? When there's not like a new game or a new hot thing, or it's tough. Sometimes you're like, you look at your back catalogue and you're like, look at all these games I bought and never played, and I decided this is
Is
the
that
one.
how big's my Steam library?
Yeah, that kind of question,
How
right?
many
You're just
games has
scrolling
less
through.
than an hour's worth of play?
Yeah,
I don't want to play any of them right
I do it at
now.
the time.
I've got to admit, I was like, I know of Baldur's Gate, and for those who are new to podcast, Zach is, yeah. So
Exactly.
our gaming history is a little bit different in that I'm more of a retro nostalgic viewpoint, and over the last 12 months, I think lockdown's had an impact on this. I've got back into gaming quite a major way. Zach has been into gaming for a while, that let's
Yeah.
say. And so there is an element of this where sometimes I have to be educated. So when you talked about Baldur's Gate for a second, I was like, I know that name.
Yeah. Yeah.
I Googled it.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember
Yeah, they were
that.
big. They were big back in the
Released
day.
back in 1998.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I actually restart. They've actually got an enhanced edition out of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 that you can get on most platforms now. So if you were wondering, if you had that hankering for some retro RPG goodness, you can probably get it on a platform that you have. Um, so there you go. But
Wow.
so it's like Baldur's Gate. So Divinity Original Sin isn't the same that universe, but it's very similar to that kind of style of game. And Larian, after the success of their Divinity Original Sin games, got asked by Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast guys to relaunch and reinvigorate Baldur's Gate and to do Baldur's Gate 3, and which is in early access at the moment on Steam if you want to check that out. Looking fantastic, and I really want to play it. So I'm trying to like just get through all these back catalogue of like those types of games to kind of reinvigorate my passion and like just yeah, I just can't wait. Although I'll have to wait for the console if a version if they do one because I don't have a gaming PC yet. Uh, and I'm probably aren't. Like, I had this and ahhing over the last few weeks. Shall I get a gaming PC? Shall I not? Like, what's the investment level? How much could I practically spend on it without being told off by Bethan? And then realised, yeah, I could probably spend, you know, I could get a good mid range PC is what we worked out. But then I'm like, just the ease of gaming on console versus like installing, uninstalling, fixing it if it doesn't work, updating the settings of the drivers installed. You know, you don't have to do any of that on console. You just download the game and play it. They do that all for you.
And yeah, well, I guess it depends on if you ever want to get rid of your Xbox.
Yeah, that's true. But Baldur's Gate came to console, or Divinity Original Sin came to console. So Larian usually brings their games to console a year after the PC release. I can wait a year. If it's that good, I can wait a year. I really can. Gamers are like the most patient group of people ever. Like, oh yeah, I'll wait 10 years for a game to come out.
Seriously, are we? Are you really?
I think I am. I think I am patient, and I don't mind waiting for a game if it's good when it arrives.
I'm going to say Cyberpunk.
That was disappointing. But on a whole, like
And yes, love,
I'm more
I
happy to
said
wait.
Cyberpunk just to see the look on his face.
No, I mean, I can't wait for that game to get patched and to like for them to update it. And like, I was thinking about the other day. when I was just sat looking at like what games I wanted to play, and before I decided to play Divinity Original Sin again, Cyberpunk, I couldn't get it out of my head. The world is just a joy to explore. It's just that interesting to like what's around every
Mm.
corner, and like just to experiment with like different kind of synergies of like skills and stuff and like different builds. It's really, really interesting. Um, it just sucks that it launched like it did, with a lot of half finished ideas and not working on the
Maybe
most part
one
things.
day they'll fix it.
I think they'll fix it. I mean, ultimately, they'd have no choice. If they ever want to launch a game again and have people buy it, they need to fix the one that's out. There's no way they could just be like, oh, we're just going to move on from Cyberpunk, call it a half-done idea, and then move on. No one will buy their next game if that's what they do. So,
Now, lovely listener, again, if you're new to this podcast, every now and then, us two can take a tangent
yeah, it's true.
and run down it until, we've just lost all.
Semblance of what we were here to talk about today.
Yeah.
Mm.
And this is my attempt to realize exactly what it is that we're doing, and stop myself and Zach from doing it, and maybe push us back onto path. Wait, back onto path? Is that a thing? Is that a catchphrase, or have I just made that up?
Yeah, back
I'm
on
doing
track.
Yeah.
On the right path. I know the phrases you were going for.
I've kind of combined
you
two
made
there, haven't
one
I?
better phrase.
Thank you. So today we are going to look. Well, we're going to. Yeah, steal, not steal. Yeah. So we've come across a website slash Twitter feed, which is called Non-Violent Game of the Day. And what we would like to do is spend a little bit of time basically just running through what we find on this website. And yeah, just running through. Wow, if I jump onto the About page, I came across some lovely explanation about why this website exists. And I guess it very much speaks into one of the reasons why we do this and why we're here as a podcast. And yeah, so it says in its About page, for too long, gaming has been known to the mass media for its Call of Duties, Grand Theft Autos, and Manhunts, but it offers so much more. And yeah, and it goes on to talk about how video games is known for mindless shooters, gory deaths, misbehaving in the Grand Theft Auto series. But there are lots of other things you can do within the video game medium. And what these guys do is that they've basically created a massive list of games that step away from violence, I guess, in all its forms. And yeah, it's not just the shooting part of violence. They make a point of avoiding cartoonish violence as well. So whereas I would be tempted to say something like Super Mario is perfectly okay, on this list, actually, they make a good point of, you've got Mario jumping on
Goombas.
little mushrooms and Angry Birds exploding as they throw into pigs in the Angry Birds games and things like that. So there's no cartoon violence here either.
Interesting.
So if you are wanting, I guess, a completely non-violent view of computer games, please stay tuned. We've not really discussed how we're going to flip through this list. I'm kind of imagining one of us talks about one game we find, whilst the other one kind of scrolls through.
Yeah, I'll scroll until I find something I've played, or looks amazing, and you can just talk about a game that you might have played that might appear on the list. And I think another thing to mention about this is that this isn't us bashing violent video games, but it is us directing people to places where they will find non-violent video games if they wish to kind of, if you've got a child or a young person who's interested in starting out in gaming but you're unsure about where to start, and this is one of the reservations that you have, rather than just an outright ban or not really knowing what to do about it, this is a great place to start. To visit the Twitter page or the site. They've got like a Tumblr page as well. So if you type in non-violent video game of the day, you'll find their Twitter page or their Tumblr page, and there are lots and lots of games on there. And start the dialogue. Like say, oh, I've heard of this site where there's like lots of video games that you could like. I'd be happy for you to play. Is there any that you like the look of? And use it as a tool to start informing yourself and to initiate the conversation. Um, yeah, and this is hopefully giving
I
them
guess
time to find something.
it could be also there for variation as well. In that, I guess, Zach, between us two, we wouldn't say there's anything wrong, particularly with games like Call of Duty. But I think if Call of Duty was the only thing we ever played day in and day out, that would speak to being quite siloed in our way of thinking of what a video game could be and what's this other experiences and other games that are out there.
Sure.
So this could be an opportunity to look at what other kind of spaces there are available within playing video games.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are listening to this in podcast format and are like, oh no, I wasn't there, I didn't get to see the link to this, we'll put the link to their Twitter page in the description for the podcast, so you'll be able to find it easily. Because yeah, this is about equipping you and kind of helping you to find what you want or need.
Oh, shall I start talking about pizza?
I mean, that's always a great place to start.
Well, you say that, pizza is one of the things I miss from, going gluten free and all that. Because yes, you can get gluten. I'm tangenting again, aren't I?
The games, Andy.
So,
the games.
Okay, and we've got to do this quick, right? So, good pizza, great pizza. It's a pizza cooking simulator game. I picture it as something like Overcooked without the kind of top-down view, and in which it appears to be all about running your own pizza shop, and you take orders from customers as they come in. You've got to keep making money, and then as time goes by, you have to upgrade your shop. You get new toppings, new equipment to make nicer, better pizzas. And it says here that hopefully, even one day, outclassing your pizza making rival, Alessante.
Every good game has a rival.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to have some sort of plot involved, right?
Yeah.
Or it doesn't. I don't know. Cool. So that is Good Pizza, Great Pizza. Available on PC, iPhone, Android, Nintendo Switch. 2018? Okay. And looks like it's made by 2018 Tap Blaze.
There you go.
Zach, you go.
Okay, I'm going to go with a game that everyone will have heard lots about, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I don't really understand it, but that is Fall Guys. So Fall Guys is a battle royale game with no violence. You're basically a little jelly bean character, and it puts you in a lobby with 99 other jelly bean. I think it's 60. I think it lobbies are 60. 59 other jelly bean characters, and it throws you at random mini games and assault courses until only one jelly bean is left. Essentially. So Fall Guys, it's got the best music. The soundtrack is just so, and it's like one of those ones where you listen to it and you just can't get out of your head. It's just get out, the theme song gets in your head, and it's just colourful and bright and vibrant and good fun from what I've heard. I've not played it, but it's been everywhere and is going everywhere. So it's on PC and PlayStation. It is coming to Switch and Xbox, so soon it will be everywhere. And it's just a really good game to have. It's just good fun. Like it's not overly kind of overbearing in that like you feel like you have to win, or that when you lose you feel bummed out. It is literally just good fun. Something you can play together as a family, take it in turns to have goes. It's very quick, very very kind of vibrant, very kind of in your face, and just yeah, Fall Guys. It's just a platforming battle royale game with mini games, and it's amazing.
Oh,
And people should check it out.
I had seen it, I have heard of it, but I think it's the battle royale bit of it which made me think, you know what? That's not going to be suitable. Well, yeah, I would get that because it looks very kid friendly, but
It is.
the battle royale bit, maybe not so.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't
obviously
really
you
know
have to
what it was about.
rationalize it with, do you want to instill that competitive kind of nature of it? I think they deals quite well with that. I don't, like some games, they can induce kind of the rage, as the gaming rage where you lose and like you end up throwing your controller across the room or whatever. Fall Guys isn't so much about that. Whilst it is competitive, um, it's very like it's just and whilst you are obviously competing against other players, it doesn't feel like that when you're in there, if that makes sense. I think it's hard to explain
Cool.
without playing it. So go play it. People out there, go play Fall Guys. Tell me what you think. We'd love to know what you guys think of Fall Guys. But yeah, just a really good family. Those words.
I'm going to rescue Zach at this point. I'm going to butt in with my next suggestion from this monster list. The monster list? Oh dear, we're both now struggling with talking. Great. And so this is Mini Motorways, which is a sequel to a game I've heard about, and I've heard a lot about Mini Metro. And what it appears to be is basically a management game where you've got little cars that need to kind of travel from like a few houses and a workplace, and you build a road between the two. And then as time passes, more buildings kind of appear. I guess they pop up from nowhere, and then they've got to be connected to your road network. And I guess it's the sort of game where it just kind of goes on from there until you've got millions of buildings appearing, and you've got to connect it all up and not have too many crashes or something like that. Yeah, you just got to keep it working to aid your cars to get to where they need to be. And I imagine Mini Metro is incredibly similar in that you've got to keep a train network running.
Nice. Well, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. If it worked the first time, it'll work the second time. And there's
Oh,
something.
totally. And it totally reminds me of games I've played, like,
Yeah.
lots. Yeah, it's just so many games that look exactly like this. It simple, top down, massively addictive, great fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's back to me, and and this list is huge, by the way, guys. If you're out there and you like, will I be able to find something that I enjoy or that my child or young person will enjoy? You definitely will, because it's varied and it is massive, and we're only scratching the surface. So the next game I wanted to give a shout out to is called Hidden Through Time, by Rogueside Games. Basically, it's Where's Wally, but not Where's Wally. So you get a map, you get loads of characters on it, and the aim is just to find those things in the big image of where there's lots and lots of stuff going on the screen. You just get to you get a little list of things to find in the picture, and you just drag and drop, or click and drop, depending on how you're playing or where you're playing. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get better. Some of the fondest memories I have of childhood is Where's Wally. Like, just the idea of just sitting down and like just looking at the picture, everything's going on, and then you found Wally, and you get that buzz of like I found Wally. Like, so a game like that that's on the tablet that's kind of a little bit interactive as well. It hits a lot of the right notes for me. So there you go, Hidden Through Time.
So my next one, it's actually one I have played. I kind of downloaded it the other night in preparation for this. mostly because it intrigued me, and well, it's free as well, which helps matters. It's called Towards the Enduring Light, and you know what, Zach? I'm just going to read this, I think, um, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more around it. Towards the Enduring Light is a minimalist short game inspired by the coronavirus pandemic. Players take on the role of a lone man delivering a box of face masks to people in Wuhan, the Chinese city where the virus first spread. The developers class it as a walking simulator, in that you simply walk the empty streets of Wuhan as the game tries to depict the impact this pandemic has had on the city.
Mm.
And then there's a little bit more detail about how why the game was developed. Um, yeah, so there's not a lot to add about what the game is. There's definitely not a lot to the game, but if you're looking for an example of gaming being an art form, I would definitely recommend just spending a few minutes with it, because it is just a few minute game, I guess. Gorgeous music, gorgeous artistry. Yeah, with a little bit of hope at the end of it as well. So yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it is a walking simulator.
Cool. I'm not averse to a walking simulator if it's got a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this list wouldn't be complete for me if it didn't have an RPG. So I found this game. It looks really really cool. It's pixel art graphics, which you know I actually
Okay.
find myself quite enjoying. I like the modern take on pixel art. It's quite cool and quite innovative, and I like good pixel art is just a fan. It just blows my mind. Um, this is a bit more cartoony, so it's not on the level of some of the most gorgeous kind of pixel art games out there. But this little game is called Little Wood. It's described as a casual and relaxing RPG, where the Dark Wizard has been defeated, so the violence has already taken place.
Okay.
And so now your hero's only task is to rebuild the village and forge new friendships. There you go. So that's called Little Wood, and it looks really cool. It's got like the kind of pixely kind of Pokemon esque top down 19 kind of early 2000s kind of Pokemon top down look to it. Um, kind of the pixel art approach, but it looks like essentially it's an RPG with a kind of building heavily kind of building component to it. Looks great. Like I'd love it if some of you guys out there checked these out and got in touch with us and told us like what they like when we play. Because you know, we've not played them. We're just recommending them based on kind of what we've seen and what looks really interesting. And this looks like that. A really
Very
interesting game.
nursery and through.
Yeah.
Um, I'd say what I'm gonna share a regret for my next one. In that I saw a shady part of me advertised over Christmas, and I think because it was a new game at the time, it was cheaper. They made a point of having it on sale to generate interest, and I kind of looked at it. And it looked very nice graphics. Definitely got my attention. It looked like there was potentially quite an emotional and dreamlike story behind the game,
Mm.
which again got my attention. You uh, play as a little girl with her shadow. I've got a daughter, and the game. Wow, they're very much does. There's a suggestion of emotional struggles within the game that you are that, and the game is there for you to overcome those emotional struggles as a player. And yeah, with a combination of 2D, 3D gameplay, graphics, puzzles, it's like, do I get this? Do I not get this? I'm looking at this again, and I'm like, oh, I should have got it. It's obviously gone up in price. Like, maybe, and yeah. So that's Shady Part of Me, available on Steam, Epic Game Store, Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch. So plenty of options there.
Mm, there you go. We've
Oh, and
covered.
also one more thing I've seen is that
Oh,
if there is something particularly tricky and you've fouled it up for whatever reason, it looks like there's a rewind option to
it's
help
always
you get
nice.
through it,
It's always nice.
which always helps.
There you
I'm done now talking about it.
go. Okay, good.
It's
Well, there you go. We've covered quite a few, and I don't want to. I guess I feel like we've probably covered quite a lot for people to think about and give opinions on. We could go on down the list forever. However, we
we
don't
could
want to
go on.
overstay our welcome, Andy, do we?
That's not stop. And yeah, no, we don't want to overstay our welcome, Zach.
Oh dear. So
Are you suggesting that we should take this to a close?
I am suggesting that we should wind it up.
Okay.
I am indeed.
So basically, all the games that we've found have been part of the non-violent game of the day website. You can find it basically by jumping onto Google or checking the links that will appear as part of the podcast notes.
Amazing. Well, this has been Skill Check. I've been Zach. He's been Andy. Thank you so much for listening, watching, for interacting with us if you have, and for tuning in if you did. As always, you can find us on social media at YMCA Exeter, and that's for Twitter and Instagram. We also have our very own email address. If you'd like to email and get in touch with us, you can do that at response@ymcaexeter.org.uk. So please do get in touch with us there if you want to. And the podcast can be found on all good podcast providers. So if you'd like to check out our podcast, then please find it there. And there's many, many, many episodes going back for quite a while now. So if you've liked this episode and think you want to kind of check out a few more of the other topics we've done, then please do check out our back catalogue and listen at your own pleasure. Once again, this has been Skill Check, and we have been coming at you from YMCA Exeter, or Exeter YMCA actually, because I'll get in trouble if I don't say it the right way around. So it's YMCA Exeter. It's been a pleasure to be here this week, and we'll see you all next week.
Stop now.
I said Exeter YMCA. Bethan will string me up from the nearest tree. And I know it's wrong, and it still came out my mouth. Blah, 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 blah.
Welcome to the behind the scenes edition.
No, it's good.
I guess the sad thing is, I didn't even pick up on it.
No.
I didn't realize.
And ultimately, for me, who isn't really that invested in kind of that stuff, I ask myself every time, well, why? What difference does it make? But apparently it's important. We are YMCA Exeter, not Exeter YMCA. And not the YMCA Exeter. It's Exeter YMCA. There's no the in front of it.
We are the YMCA in Exeter.
No.
If that helps. No, we're not the YMCA.
No. We are YMCA Exeter.
YMCA Exeter. I'm just trying to make it easy for you to remember.
Guys, this is the kind of drama that happens. This is the most exciting it gets around here. Trying to get our name right. Yeah, if you have suggestions on how to make us better at being hosts on a podcast, please do also get in touch with us. We're welcome for feedback. We're willing to learn. We're still very much just in it's all of this is in its infancy. Everything that you see here, and it's all still very much a learning process for us. So if you do have any really good helpful tips or insights, we would love to hear them, because anything that helps make this a better place for people to engage is good, in my opinion, and probably also Andy's opinion.
I agree.
Good. Phew.
I was like, Once again, yeah, yeah, there was another thing I was gonna mention to you. Have you heard the rumors about the Avengers?
Have I heard the rumours about the Avengers? No, you're going to have to enlighten me.
And yeah, that was it. Because I wasn't intending to talk about the controller earlier. Because I was looking for a particular news article which I'd spotted, and I could have sworn I saved it. I obviously didn't. But apparently, the Avengers might be going to free to play.
Oh, you mean the game? I thought you just meant the
Yes.
concept in general. Have I heard the news
Yes.
about Avengers? So that's interesting because there's a big update coming next week for it that
Mm.
updates it to the Series X and PlayStation 5 versions come out next week for free updates for people that bought it on the last gen consoles but have the new gen consoles. And it also includes a free update introducing the newest character, which is Hawkeye. And they're also
Mm.
reworking XP, so it's a little bit kind of the experience is a little bit more balanced for new players that don't feel overwhelmed with like skill points coming out their ears. That it's a bit more leveled off and a bit more tapered to give you a better gaming experience. Um, I think that would be a good move, honestly, because there is not enough content, and if they're at the point, from a studio point of view, of going, we not enough people are buying our game, so we can't put new content into it because we can't pay for it. Then going free to
Mm.
play and putting skins and things and cosmetics as the kind of like a Fortnite type model where it's free to play but you can buy skins. Um, it works. People will buy the skins if they're cool, um, especially if the game was free and they didn't. So that might be a good way of them generating different types of income, more sustained over a longer period of time, which will then help them to put more in the game because there's not enough in the game at the moment for a £60, £50 game. It's just not enough.
Mm.
Um, which is why I stopped playing it because there's not enough. Like I've done it,
Yeah.
and it's not enough of an interesting grind at the end of the game to level up your characters all the way. It's not interesting. Like it's just the same thing over and
Mm.
over again. There's no like variation to it. I think there's like 2 bosses in the game. So like once you've done it, and you play against them in the story mode. So if you play the story mode, you've done it. You've done it. There's no
Yeah.
incentive to go back and grind and grind and grind over and over again to max level your character, just playing the same 2 bosses over and over again. So it's unfortunate because it looks great and it plays really well. It's fun to fly around as
The
Thor and smack
idea of
stuff.
it is amazing.
Yeah, they've got a good core concept. They just need to double down on putting some more interesting things in there to do, and I think it will be
Mm.
fine. And free to play might make complete sense as far as funding that content goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not enough
Yeah.
to warrant the full price tag. So
And that was very much the one of the rumor articles. Yeah. Yeah. In that they're struggling to kind of get the players, and there's update that kind of up the amount of grind I was needed to do, and they're like, well, I think going to free to play, not confirmed,
yeah,
and what's the other point? That the odd thing about if they were to do it, whilst it's worked well for other games like Destiny and Rocket League, both those games are doing it from a actually we're already popular.
yeah, yeah. So all we're doing is giving even more people on top of that a chance to play our game. Not we have no players in our game. Let's make it free to play in the hopes that someone might download it and spend a £5 on a skin.
Yeah.
It, it's fundamentally different, you know. Um, but Fortnite not that popular when it didn't have battle royale and free to play, and then as soon as they
Cool.
put that in, they exploded. So it does work the other way around as well.
Oh, okay.
I was one of those people that bought Fortnite, the original game, because I liked the look of the original game. No interest in battle royale games. They have as soon as the battle royale got successful, they stopped doing any kind of updates to the actual PVE type game that was attached to it, and just went all
Mm.
on the battle royale. Which for them, fair play. Um, but it does work. It does work both ways round. Like there is justification for both, but they'd have to incentivize it. Why fill most of my hard drive with Avengers if there's nothing to do, even if it's free? Even if like you still got to have a good gameplay loop. which obviously Fortnite nails. The Battle Royale, like, I'm not a fan of Battle Royales, but I will drop in for a round of Fortnite every now and again. So
Yeah, because it's fun.
yeah,
If they make
it's
it fun.
Yeah, it's just good fun. So if Avengers makes that kind of, you're thinking what, 20 to 30 minute game loop, fun and exciting, people will play it. But at the moment, it's just monotonous. It's not fun, and kind of that sucks because the actual flying around as Thor or jumping around smashing stuff as Hulk is fun. Just not when you're
Yeah,
doing the
how can that
exact
not be fun?
same enemy type over and over again. So, yeah. There you go. That's my rant on Avengers. I want it to be good because I love the game. I love the story. The story was amazing.
How can being Hulk not be fun?
Yeah.
How can being Iron Man not be fun?
I mean,
Unless this is some sort of
the
in-depth
gameplay.
look
That's the
at.
thing. They've got great characters, and playing the actual characters is lots of fun. But there comes a point when you've beaten the same enemy for the thousandth time for what is essentially like no point because the end game gear and loot system isn't really there, and you're not really progressing, and there's not like high tier activities that are really difficult that you need to grind certain gear for and get synergies for. It's not there. So in other games like that, Destiny for instance, where you're grinding a certain build and you want to experiment with different perks and that change the way you play the game to make it certain levels and certain activities easier or harder, they just don't have that depth in Avengers, which is a shame because the actual, like I said, actually playing as those superheroes is good fun. So I'm probably going to download the new version though and see what it's like. Even though I've just bashed it for like 20 minutes.
It's rubbish. It's terrible. I'm still gonna play it.
I'll still check it out. Like,
Such a gamer.
Yeah, I'm such a gamer, aren't I? Jeez. I think gamers are eternally optimistic about when there's a game update comes out. Everyone's like, well, it might be amazing. So everyone goes and tries it, and then it's like, oh, maybe. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's not.
Oh.
I want to play it in 4K at 60 frames.
I can applaud. I like optimism.
Yeah. You gotta be. Got to be.
Right. On that note, I'm feeling my coffee run out.
Yeah.
You know,
And this will be
mentally
finished on
speaking.
time, guys. In fact, we're 4 minutes early. So this is unheard of.
Yeah.
I know. We did it.
We did also start vaguely on time as well.
I know. This is crazy. Which means the podcast will be an actual podcast-sized podcast. Guys, this is not... If you have tuned in today on one of the various platforms where we're new, this isn't how it usually goes. It's usually a lot more chaotic, a lot more rambly, and this is efficient by our standard. We've done quite well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Maybe there's something wrong with us. Maybe, you know, we need to go on holiday and
again. Because we've just both been on holiday. We need to go again. Every week we should have a few days off. That's what it should be. Technically I'm part-time, so technically I do have a few days off every week. But, you know, swings and roundabouts.
Wow. Dear boss, if you're listening or watching this bit, how would you feel about Zach's suggestion about, you know, us going on holiday, like not together, but separately going on holiday?
Unless they want to send us to like a gaming convention and we could do some live stuff from the gaming floor. That would be amazing. So, X still
I would be up for that.
Yeah, if you want to send us to London Comic Con or the Games Expo, I think Exeter even has a Games Expo once a year. If you want us to send us along and do some live recordings of things and stuff, this is for the higher ups that are listening to this. Please send us. We'd love to do some content for young people and have a meet and greet and take some people out to see some stuff. We'd love to do that. So there you go.
And, you know, if we could arrange some sort of meet and greet with, you know, the greats of Doctor Who as well, that would be
Or for our fans, of which we have thousands.
Do that. Yeah, don't. Yeah, let's not do that. I'll probably turn into a raving fanboy.
Well, here's a question for you that is unrelated to gaming, but maybe we'll do a TV podcast at some point or something. Diversify our portfolio. because I mean we're both probably massively into TV as well. Favorite Doctor Who? Go.
Oh,
Tell me now.
oh, as in right now, because
You can choose
my
any.
favorite
You can
probably
choose any.
varies depending on the day of the week.
Well, right now then, this moment, I'm asking you the question, and it can be any. It doesn't have to be current or new. A
Either
new
9 or
generation.
11, which is odd. I want to say 3.
I know. This question is a question I wrestle with, and I always come to the same conclusion.
Don't say David Tennant.
I'm not going to.
Oh, good.
I think I talked over your answer. What was your answer?
I didn't really give an answer. It's either 9 or 11.
Okay. And for those people out there that don't know who 9 and 11 are,
Matt Smith or Chris Eccleston.
I'm 100% Christopher Eccleston.
Ah.
Every time in my head, every time I think about it and debate it, and arguably like he had one of the shortest runs on the show, but he is a caliber of actor that you wouldn't usually find doing Doctor Who. And whilst that's not a slight against anyone that's played the Doctor, he brought such a eerie, strange, deep, complex personality to the Doctor that I don't think has been done since. Because ultimately, it's supposed to be scary, and I don't find the newest ones all that scary. But Christopher Eccleston's run was spooky, man. It was spooky. It was creepy, and he did really well selling the kind of like trials and tribulations of someone that is the Doctor and all that entails. And I think he sells it really well. Yeah.
So on this note, and on the note of on the note of Christopher Eccleston, that guy, as an actor, I'm gonna hold this up here and talk about John Hurt for a moment, who appeared as the War Doctor in the 50th anniversary special.
He did indeed.
As the secret regeneration of the Doctor.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about them doing stuff like that?
Fine.
Because they had the other female Doctor in one of the more recent series, who was also the Doctor from the far from the future, right? So we had a Doctor that everyone forgot because they didn't like him, and a Doctor from the way far in the future that no one knows about.
So 1 moment. So on this note, Chris Eccleston is returning to the role of Doctor Who for these guys, Big Finish. So he's going to do a series of Doctor Who stories available on CD.
Yeah, audio, guys, for those that can't see Andy holding up CDs.
Massively. Yeah, coming out this year.
Some of the you know I remember as soon as I think Christopher Eccleston Doctor Who, that episode where it was World War II and it was those kids in the masks, the gas masks. Man, that episode freaked me out.
Oh yeah,
big time. Also, his season also introduced Captain Jack Harkness, best companion Doctor Who's ever had. Just putting it out there. Yes. Just putting it out there.
And the sort of companion who I think works best as almost a friend of the Doctor.
Yeah.
So the classic series has the Brigadier.
Yeah.
Who
the person who is willing to fight when the Doctor isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, he's around, and it's a recognizable face throughout however many decades that the Brigadier was featured in. Unfortunately, the actor who played the Brigadier has now passed on, so that's not going to be a thing of a TV show. But over the later series, I love how they used Captain Jack.
Yeah. And kind of they had a very interesting relationship at the start where we're getting deep into Doctor Who-ness now. But the idea that the Doctor blamed himself for creating who Jack Harkness ultimately ended up being, and then unable to reconcile to himself the idea that there's someone out there that can't die, and what that potential implications of that on time as a concept. We're getting deep now, guys. Was really interesting. So that made the interactions between the Doctor and Jack always really interesting, because the Doctor both blamed himself and saw the danger of having someone like Jack around, whilst Jack only ever wanted to help the Doctor.
Yeah.
So fascinating relationship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, are we talking spin-off territory one day?
Maybe. I would love to do a TV show podcast where we talk about TV shows. Maybe I don't know what we'd call it. But there you go, guys. If you'd like to see that or hear that, then let us know and we'll think about it. I'm sure we could squeeze another podcast into the week somewhere under a small 5 minutes somewhere. It would have to be such a small. But the thing is, at least now we can pop on and record something quickly. We don't have to do all the setup like we did at the start, where it was like, what on earth are we doing? We can just get on, jump on, do the podcast, jump off again. It's not impossible.
On that note, on that tease, especially, you know, as it's about 10 minutes after you talked about how we're finishing on time.
Oh dear. It's time to go. We'll see you all next week, guys, at 4 o'clock for the podcast. If you're interested in gaming and you want to see more gaming content at YMCA Exeter, then Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, tune in to the same places you find this, and you'll find me playing video games for your pleasure, sometimes well, sometimes badly, both hilariously funny. And Andy sometimes hangs out in chat, so you can come and chat to him and ask him all gaming-related stuff while I muddle my way through a gaming experience of some description. I'm not sure what we're playing tomorrow. Probably Monster Sanctuary. And I'm not going to tell you anything more about it. I'm just going to throw it out there. Probably a game called Monster Sanctuary. Looks really cool. But anyway, yeah, that's where you can find us. Wednesdays 4 o'clock, Thursdays 7 o'clock, all the same places on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And we will see you all on the flip side.
Go.